Good evening, America. Happy Monday and welcome to the latest edition of Just the News, No Noise. I'm your host, John Solomon, reporting to you from the nation's capital where there is movement towards ending the 41-day government shutdown. We're going to get to that in a second. Yeah, we're inching, crawling towards a solution, but we're not quite there yet. Now, quick programming note before I get to headlines and our first guest, Amanda Head. She's over at the White House today as the pool reporter. So she's not going to be able to get here on time. So I'm going to try to take you solo for the next hour. You'll be in good hands. Hopefully, we got a lot of good guests coming up, including Congresswoman Mariannette Miller-Meeks, who we hope to get on here in a few seconds. She'll tell us the very latest of what's going on. Here's what happened over the weekend. President Trump kept enormous pressure on Democrats. That pressure began to work. 8 to 10 Democrats deciding last night they would bolt from their party and support an effort to reopen the government on the same terms that government was supposed to be opened up 41 days ago. And that is a clean CR. All the other stuff gets resolved outside of the shutdown. 8 Democrats voted in the test vote yesterday. We're waiting for a new vote today, but thus far, that hasn't happened. We're waiting to see what Senator Rand Paul, who's blocking some of the activity today, and what others are going to do. But there are signs that sometime in the next week or two, this shutdown will be ended. Now, meanwhile, the president is focusing on a key component of the shutdown. What is that? It is the fact that Democrats are holding out for a singular reason. That is, they want to get tens of billions of dollars a year in more subsidies for America's health care insurance companies. That's right, not the American people, the insurers. Why? Because Obamacare could never pay for itself, and as the premium rates rise, the Democrats began shoveling money directly to the insurance companies to artificially keep them down. And President Trump has gotten wise to this, and he's been making some strong overtures to the American people. I can make this more affordable. How about we give that money not to the insurance companies, but to you and let you decide how you spend it on your health care? That's one idea he put on the table over the weekend. Also on the issue of affordability, he put on the table another idea. He understands Gen Z Americans, the newest generation of Americans, don't have an easy pathway to buying a home because affordability of homes is been going down. Rates are going up, interest rates, and over the last decade, as have prices. And that's made that American dream out of reach for a lot of people. But President Trump had an idea this weekend. How about we stretch mortgages from 30 years to 50 years, stretch the payment out, and we'll have a little bit more time to maybe get payments down, more time to pay back that. That's an important idea. Affordability. I think you'll hear the president, according to my reporting today and tomorrow, talk a lot more about waging a war on affordability. While he's made great strides getting the price of eggs and gas and prescription drugs down, among other things, he wants to make it clear that he's trying to take care of other things that particularly affect young people, like health insurance and mortgage rates. So we'll keep a close eye on that. Meanwhile, the president today issued a new round of pardons, this aimed at a group of supporters who contested the 2020 election, raised election issues, and in some cases agreed to serve as alternate electors in states like Wisconsin or Pennsylvania. Well, in past history, the action of becoming an alternate elector was never criminally prosecuted. But in the last couple of years, several states, not the federal government, but states have prosecuted folks like former Wisconsin Judge Jim Trupis, who we'll have on the show in a little bit. So why would the president issue a federal pardon power to people who are facing criminal charges in the state? The federal pardon doesn't go down to state charges. Here's the answer. The pardon signifies to the courts that this is a federal supremacy issue, meaning it isn't the states to decide whether it can be prosecuted. It is a federal election. The submission of federal electors is a federal act or an act to a federal body, and therefore these pardons could open the door for lots of former Trump people facing prosecutions in Arizona or Wisconsin or Georgia and other places to argue that the state has no authority. So this is a strategic move, not specifically protecting people from prosecution, but making it more difficult for those state prosecutors to take on these Trump supporters for their action of redressing grievances to their government. All right, we've got a lot of other headlines going on today. On the issue of healthcare, just quickly, I want you to take a look at Just the News in the Morning. My extraordinary colleague, Stephen Richards, will tell you the whole story of how insurance companies have become so addicted and reliant upon those Obamacare subsidies. Without them, they would not nearly have been as profitable the last decades. You're going to see profits of insurance companies look like a plane taking out of an airport. Nose goes straight up over the last decade as the subsidies came in. We're going to tell you how that happened, why Democrats are now fretting that those subsidies could end, and what did the executives of those companies do as they got richer and their earnings went up? Well, I'll give you a little secret. They were giving more and more to Democratic candidates. How about that? You scratch my back, I'll scratch your wallet. That's the story we'll have tomorrow morning, the dirty secret of Obamacare and this government shutdown. All right, with that, I want to turn to our first guest. She knows everything about this debate. Not only is she a doctor, she is on the front lines of the debate in Congress. Iowa Congresswoman Mariannette Miller-Meeks. Congresswoman, great to have you on the show.
Well, thank you so much for having me, John. It's great to be with you, especially as an Army veteran the day before Veterans Day. So happy Veterans Day to all of our veterans out there, and thank them for their service and their sacrifice.
And to you as well for having served our country so bravely and gratefully. We're really grateful as a country for everyone who has served in the uniform.
Absolutely.
Congresswoman, I want to ask you where we are in this shutdown. Are we going to move towards a resolution, you think, or is it going to get gummed up with more Washington gobbledygook?
Well, as we know, nothing is as dysfunctional as Washington, D.C. And the swamp. But nonetheless, I think that what we've seen happen is people noticing how government is affecting them, whether it's flight delays with air traffic control. And I can tell you the past 2 weeks flying, we flat out had pilots saying to us that we had ground stops in the other airports. So we just got here. We've been here all day. And it's air traffic control. And so when you have people working without pay, whether it's our military, air traffic control, customs and border protection, correctional officers in federal prisons, they're working tough jobs, stressful jobs, sometimes life-threatening jobs, doing it without pay, not knowing if their families are going to be taken care of. These are real-life consequences to individuals. And then with the SNAP benefits coming up to where they were not reauthorized because we have not funded fiscal year 2026. You know that we voted to fund the government on September 19th. It went over to the Senate. You need 60 votes in the Senate, and the Democrats, with the exception of 3 of them, the Democrats refused. And why? Because, Chuck Schumer is afraid of a bartender, AOC, and because they wanted leverage and they were using the American people as leverage, and because they wanted to energize their base, which they saw at their big rallies in October. And then, lastly, is like they couldn't do anything to affect their brand. Well, as you know, despite disappointment among people in my district, especially in my party, I voted to fund the government, and I voted for continuing resolutions, clean continuing resolutions, because it's our responsibility. It is our duty. And I'm going to support our military, and I'm going to have their backs every day from Friday. And so I think what we've seen is that as things ratcheted up, as more people were suffering, we had 8 very courageous Democrats tell Senator Schumer where to put it. And they crossed the aisle and voted to move a vote forward, to move yes on invoking cloture so that this could come up for a vote. And there was a compromise. But as you know, there was negotiations before the House put forward its clean continuing resolution.
Yeah, there was just no interest in negotiation on the other side until just the last few days. It's really remarkable. I think this, of all the issues that I've covered, all the shutdowns I've covered in the 35 years I've been here, this is the closest to a single issue shutdown I've ever seen. It's really about these healthcare subsidies. And the more that we learn about them, the more that we learn that they go to the insurers, not to the American people. The insurers keep it, even if the consumer doesn't use the policy plan. This looks like a form of corporate welfare, and the Democrats are simply just fighting for some large cash constituents, which insurance company executives have become for them. Is this a form of corporate welfare, ultimately, the way the Obamacare subsidies are currently structured?
100%. As you know, I've been on your show in October. I have said this repeatedly. Yeah. I said this when we were in Washington, D.C. in September before the shutdown occurred. And that is that these enhanced premium tax credits were put in place in 2021 by President Biden to mask the fact that premiums were going up for individuals who weren't already on the Unaffordable Care Act or the un-ACA premium tax credit. So that group was never affected by the continuing resolution. We made no cuts in the continuing resolution to any health insurance or any health care. They were not talking about this. I'm on the Energy and Commerce Committee. This was not a topic of conversation. As you know, we were doing the reconciliation bill, and all the talk was about Medicaid and the lies they spewed about Medicaid. And then it was about DOGE and it was about immigration. This never even came up until September, where it was looking at these enhanced premium tax credits, which, remember, the Democrats voted for them on top of the regular ACA tax credits. They voted on them in 2021. Then they stuck them in the IRA, Non-Inflation Reducing Act. And all of these votes were all Democrat votes. They never had any negotiation or consideration for Republicans at all. And they're the ones that had them expire, all to hide the fact that insurance rates could potentially go up or were going up. And all of us agree we want healthcare costs to come down. We are working to bring healthcare costs down. We put provisions in the Working Families Tax Cut to do so. But these subsidies don't go to the individual. So unlike Medicare Part D, where the money went to the person to purchase their drugs, and that led to $4 generic drugs, these subsidies go directly to the insurance company. And the same is true in Medicaid, why states have to enforce eligibility. It's also why my Medicaid Improvement Act. So we're not paying one or more states for phantom people on their enrollments, which those premiums payments go directly to the insurance company. So it is a form of corruption. It is a form of corporate welfare to very profitable insurance companies, and it has to stop. More importantly, it doesn't bring healthcare costs down. It may make it more affordable for one person, but it doesn't have any incentive for the insurance companies to bring down healthcare costs. So all you're doing is a dog chasing its own tail, is that you're continuing ratcheting up premiums because the insurance companies are getting directly subsidized by the taxpayers. So you can have one person working. So I pay my own health insurance. It's about $1,000 a month. They just sent me the notice that it's time to go back to the exchange and see what my rates are. And so, individuals who are working, who are paying their own insurance that aren't on the enhanced premium tax cuts, they're covering and paying for these people. And then furthermore, I think it's an interesting side that, remember, Kathleen Sebelius was in charge of the CMS when the Unaffordable Care Act was implemented. She was the president of AHIP, America's Health Insurance Plans. So she was part of this, getting money directly to, in my view, where the money went and how the money went out. And so it's a level of corruption. It is corporate welfare. And most importantly, it is doing nothing to bring healthcare costs down, which we need them down for all of us, and especially for young people.
Follow the money. You always find a revolving door in Washington. That Sebelius story is such an amazing anecdote about how the system works. For where we are now, what is the pathway? If the Senate gets a vote, what sort of things in the deal do Republicans have to deliver on? And is Obamacare reform, Republican style, likely to be taken up before the end of the year?
So first and foremost, we had a conference call today, and probably everybody knows that we're advised to come back to Washington, D.C. The earliest possible vote, depending upon what the Senate does, will be Wednesday, late Wednesday. It may not be. It just depends upon what happens in the Senate and when they vote for that. And so within that package, first and foremost, remember the original 7-week continuing resolution was to expire on November 21st. So the continuing resolution is carried forward until January 30th of 2026. In that, there are 3 appropriation bills that we actually had already had come through the House. So the Ag Appropriation Bill, which importantly has SNAP in it, the Military Construction VA bill, and then the Legislative Branch bill. So those 3 appropriation bills will go into a minibus. Remember, we have already gone through them. We have already voted on them. There have already been amendments on those. There'll be some changes because of amendments or agreement with the Senate. So we'll have a continuing resolution till January 30th. We will have 3 appropriation bills. There will be a in the Senate guaranteed vote to talk about the enhanced premium tax credits. But importantly, there's no increase in spending in the bills that are going forward. And then we'll continue to work on our appropriation bills, hopefully getting the farm bill through, and then conversations about how do we lower healthcare costs and what's the best way to do that. And any conversation about tax credits, the enhanced premium tax credits, you and I have had that conversation. I've had that conversation with members. I think that's a very difficult pill to swallow for that money to go directly to the insurance companies. But there needs to be reforms in the Affordable Care Act in exchange for doing anything on the regular tax credits, which are not expiring and which continue to be there. So whether that is people paying more or paying something when they're not paying anything, whether that's income limits, I think there's a variety of things that we can do. And as I said, we passed provisions in the Working Families Tax Cuts for direct primary care, for expanding HSAs. I mean, I think it's important that, number one, costs come down when people control their money. And number two, having more choice and more control over your health care, more incentives to adopt healthy lifestyles, which can reduce chronic diseases. And I think those are things that absolutely we want to have a conversation about.
Yeah, very exciting times. Choice has worked in education. It's going to work in health if we can just get there with a little bit more of it. Congresswoman Mariannette Miller-Meeks, always an honor to have you on. Happy Veterans Day. Thank you for your service. Also, thank you for all the straight talk you always bring when you come to the show. We really enjoy you.
Well, thank you, John. And again, happy Veterans Day to all our veterans out there.
Amen. Thank you to you as well. Thank you so much. All right, folks, quick commercial break. When we come back, President Trump stands by his allies issuing those pardons I told you about to Wisconsin Republicans targeted over the 2020 election fight. We're going to talk to one of them next, right after these messages. Hey, folks, did you know high blood pressure is the #1 risk factor for mortality? A stunning 1 in 2 adults have high blood pressure, meaning there's a 50-50 chance you could be affected. Taking control of your blood pressure is crucial for your health and longevity, and there's a new way you can just do that by using 120 Life. And 120 Life is not just for high blood pressure, it's also beneficial for those with diabetes, because managing high blood pressure can help with diabetes, making 120 Life a valuable tool for overall health. Endorsed by over 1,000 doctors, 120 Life is trusted by healthcare professionals, with hundreds of doctors recommending it to help manage blood pressure naturally. For a limited time, try 120 Life and get 20% off. Just use the promo code JTN at checkout at 120life.com. That's 120 Life, because it offers a risk-free trial with a full refund if you don't see lower numbers in just 2 weeks. Go to 120life.com and use that code JTN to save 20%. There's nothing to lose except your high blood pressure numbers.